morning. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Cleary. My name is Pat Cleary, and as of tomorrow morning, I'll be the head of school here at Tech Boston Academy. And although today is not about me, it is about the future of this school behind me, and it's also about the future, and more importantly, about the second word, Boston. I've had the pleasure of feeling and experiencing what Mary Skipper can do for Tech Boston Academy, and the success in listening to the graduates last night at school committee. And I cannot wait for Boston to experience what Tech Boston has experienced. So it's my pleasure to be here today. It's also my pleasure to be here and welcome a mayor who has been right there for Tech Boston and Boston Public Schools every day since she took office. So at this time, I know the people behind me will get loud. Please welcome Mayor Wu. And let's hug again, because that's my thing.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am thrilled today. It is a beautiful day. It is a beautiful future ahead of us for the City of Boston and the Boston Public Schools, and I couldn't be more excited as a city leader, as a resident of Boston, and as a mom with kids in our schools. I couldn't wait to share the news with my two boys this morning. They were fighting about who had lost my shoes under the couches, but we had a little talk about where their schools would be taken care of and who would be in charge. What happens in buildings like this all across our city are the most important work that happens in our city. Planting the seeds, laying the path, opening the doors for those who will be taking care of us for a long time to come. Our young people must be the mission of the City of Boston across every level of government, every sector of the city, in every boardroom, church basement, nonprofit conference room, and in every department of City Hall and throughout the bowling building. I'm so grateful that we have had a comprehensive, inclusive, empowering search that took place over the last few months with the City of Boston. Thousands of residents weighed in. We heard and interviewed dozens of candidates from around the country. We landed with 4 finalists, 2 of whom interviewed publicly. And I want to especially thank Tommy Welch, Dr. Welch, who is just a stalwart leader. His leadership shines every single day, and we are so grateful for his role in the city, his role in Boston Public Schools as a fellow parent, and we expect and will demand that that leadership continue to grow. Today we are here to ensure that we show what's at stake with the next leader of our schools, Mary Skipper. Superintendent Skipper, Superintendent Skipper has worked at every level of leadership in the Boston Public School system, from a classroom teacher to a school leader, a school administrator, and then has led a nearby district, our sister city in Somerville, for 7 years to tremendous results. We had the chance to connect this morning with those who had grown from and seen the seeds that she had planted in co-founding Tech Boston Academy and pouring her heart and soul into the young people in this school community. Young people who have gone on to become teachers, administrators, and colleagues who are still at the helm of this school and our school district today. There's so much that we do right now in this very difficult moment of challenge that is also an opportunity that we must seize. And the opportunity before Boston right now is to truly connect all of the energy. Everywhere I go across the city, people are ready to roll up their sleeves and plug in to support our schools. And so there is an army of excited, volunteers and residents and supporters and community leaders here reaching out to make sure that our next superintendent, the team that she builds, and our entire school community across all of Boston Public Schools will be successful, because that is the most important work that our city can do, paving the way for our future, investing in our young people, and connecting our city and every single community within Boston. And so it is my honor, I will MC the rest of the program, it is my honor to pass this over to someone who has led our district through very difficult and challenging times, who ensured that every process related to the Boston School Committee is inclusive, is centered on our young people, and truly represents the possibility and the potential of our city. I am so grateful to serve alongside the chair of the Boston School Committee, Jeri Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. And before I say anything else, I just want to say to Mary, welcome home. Thank you. As you all know, this has been a pretty tough year for BPS. By the skin of our teeth, we have gotten through the first DESE hurdle, but now the work begins. And this work begins with the leadership of someone who understands what the work is. Mary has come back to Boston, but you see what she built before she left Boston and how it's continued to grow. And to come back after a while to walk into a building filled with love, enthusiasm, and excitement about leadership. This is what we need completely across our district. A lot more good goes on in Boston that many of you report. We need the good news of Boston, not just the bad. We've got hardworking school leaders, teachers, kids working hard every day. And now we know there are a lot of things that DESE has spotlighted that says these are the things that we need to do, and absolutely we need to do them. And when they're done, every child in this city will have what they need. But that will only happen with the support of everyone supporting Mary, because sometimes the work is not going to be pretty or exciting, but it's going to be foundational. To get to transformation, we have to have a strong foundation. So our work starting tomorrow is rebuilding the foundation of BPS with love, support, and all of the work that you all do to help us. I am thankful for having a very strong school committee who are ready to roll up their sleeves to hold each other, ourselves, and all of you accountable for this work together. The MOU is all of our MOU. It just doesn't belong to a few people. And we need to hold ourselves accountable every day, because we're holding ourselves accountable for the children of the city of Boston. So I am glad that we are here today, but please remember, the work is just beginning. It's not over yet, and we need all of your support, and we need you all to support Mary and all of her teams through all of the good and the hard times that we know are coming. So thank you all very much. And again, thank you and welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Jeri. And Jeri speaks on behalf of several of our school committee members who are here today. So I want to acknowledge and thank Vice Chair Michael O'Neill, who is here. School committee member Dr. Stephen Elkins is here. School committee member Lorena Lopera is here. Thank you so much for your diligence. Oh, sorry. School committee member Rafaela Polanco Garcia is here. And our student member of the school committee, Ira Mercer, is here, and you'll hear from shortly. Okay. And I want to thank members of the search committee who are here as well. I saw Marcus McNeil here. President of the Boston Teachers Union, Jessica Tang, who was on our search committee. Thank you so much for your leadership. Okay, everyone here should be acknowledged. I'm so sorry. And now, I am so thrilled to welcome up a partner, someone who has been dedicated to students for her entire career, someone who shares a fierce belief in Boston and what's possible for our city, someone who has worked at every level of this district and is uniquely qualified to lead in this moment, our next Superintendent of the Boston Public Schools, Mary Skipper.
Good morning. I'd like to thank our mayor. It's so exciting to hear the hope that is in her voice, and more importantly, the action that she takes to support our schools. It's been a short time, but an impactful time. And so I'm very much looking forward to our partnership with the city, to Chair Robinson for her support, and to all of school committee. Really looking forward to working with them as partners, and to our city council. You know, back in 2003, when we moved here to Tech Boston, I would spend a lot of time sitting in my car in the morning looking out at that field. And over the course of a decade, I saw a transformation happen in the community, in the field itself, with what it replaced: old, torn up, dug up, dirt bikes on it, no lighting. And over time, that field transformed. And it was very symbolic of the transformation we went through in Tech Boston. From the old Dorchester High School, a school that was mocked in the community, to one that gained the trust of the community, and through a decade of hard work, and the staff and the students, many of whom are behind me, who are now staff themselves, was really able to bring to bear a hope for kids that the future was there, they could do anything and be anything, and that everybody would support them, including the community. And that was an honor, and there wasn't a day I woke up that driving to this building, I did not get excited and amped for that possibility. That's what we need in BPS. We need every Boston public school to be a place where students run into the building, that they are thrilled to be there. We need every Boston public school to be a place where staff can go in and know that they're going to be supported and have the tools they need to serve our students and families. And we need it to be a place where our families trust that what we say we're going to do, we do. And a transparent, and even if the data isn't pretty, even if the data shows us that we're not yet at the place we need to be, we're at least honest about it, and we can lay out and explain how we're going to get to where we need to be. So building trust with the community and families is my priority. Building a team, diverse, talented, much like the team that existed for Tech Boston, but at a district level, building on the immense talent that's already here in BPS and having other talent join us in this mission. Creating a village, and that village that helps support our students and families is in this city, such a rich city of philanthropic and nonprofit and businesses and post-secondary. This is Boston. That has to come to bear in a village for our students and our staff. And the media is a big piece of that, because you have the power and the control to control the narrative of what people believe and what they see. And from this day forward, my hope is you are a partner and an ally with me and with the people behind me to bring the good news and message of what we're about. And then finally, you know, this is really building a vision, and it will not happen day one, because if it were, it would only be my vision. This has to be a vision we build together as a city and as a school community. And I have every confidence, because I've been a part of it when it's happened. I've seen tangibly the effect of it from every single person being part of that vision, whether it's a school custodian, to whether it's a safety officer, whether it is a cafeteria or food service worker, whether it's a teacher, an administrator, a parent leader. Everyone needs to come together to build that vision with us. That's the way BPS is going to shine, and it will shine as long as we all do our part in that. I'd also like to say there's a lot of concrete work to be done. Special education, bringing native language access and our work to our ELLs, and making sure that we have the best possible programming, building our academic stamina up, transportation, ensuring that buses are running, they're running on time, they're picking children up, and they're getting them to run in those doors every single day, as well as other operational components. That will be the work that I will have the honor of doing with Dr. Eccleston, who I cannot think of a more outstanding person and professional to be in the acting superintendent while I make my transition. So, get ready. This is going to be fun. It's going to be a good ride. Most importantly, this day forward, students should always begin our conversation and should always end our conversation. I won't finish before thanking two people personally. One is my husband, Peter Skipper, who I love dearly and is my beginning and my end, and Keith Love. So if you notice, we have a parking space, so Keith's always with us. He was an outstanding co-leader with me for many, many years here at Tech Boston and carried on the spirit. And I still feel that spirit as I walked in there today, and I know everybody behind me does as well. So I'd like to thank both my husband and Keith for the incredible work that they did and the support that my husband gave me. Thank you very much, and I look forward to working with the media as partners as we build this village. Thank you.
Okay, the superintendent said it, that from this moment on, every conversation begins with students. So we are next going to bring up our incredible leader on the school committee, a voice for students and our entire community, Miss Ira Mercer.
Good morning, everyone. If you guys have noticed, a lot of the words that's been thrown around is skilled leader, right? We're having a skilled leader here, right? A new family member for BPS. I feel like BPS itself is a community. Our teachers, our staff, our students, their families. We are a family within ourselves, right? The students, of course, are the children. The teachers are the mothers, the fathers, the aunts, the uncles. The admins and the principals, they're the grandfathers and the grandmothers. I mean, y'all are not always that old, but your leadership is that old. I'm not gonna lie, some of your rules are that old too, but your leadership alone, like, the things that you guys do for us, it's like a grandparent, right? That's right. You know, save us $2 every now and then. But we have a family. Do you see everyone that's here? Our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents. This is what we need as students. We need our community. We need our family. Because when we have a strong structure within our family, again, structure, we hear that a lot, right? That stability. Once we have that strong family, nothing can tear us down. Nothing could break us apart. A strong family is that we need as students, right? If you don't have someone constantly pushing you, you're going to feel as if you can't make it to point B from A, right? You need that push. Sometimes you may have that pull, but that push is what's going to bring you there. So having this strong family behind me as a student is everything, literally everything. It makes me want to be who I want to be. I plan on becoming a teacher and possibly a principal too. And because of my school family, just a few miles down to the Henderson, I knew that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I love it. I love this family, honestly. And to have a new member that is so skilled, so loved by the people here, the students, the faculty, that's what we need. Someone who is skilled, someone who is talented, someone who is loved, that structure, that stability. Because we're tired of the change, the constant change. It's like a push and a pull, and it's like, oh, who's the next superintendent today? Like, we're tired of it. We need that structure. We need this foundation like Tech Boston has. We need it, and we love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zyra. I hope I'm the cool auntie, but I'll be the grandma if I have to. Okay. Next, I'd like to bring up a member of our search committee, an important leader for everything that happens in our city, the president of the Boston Teachers Union, Jessica Tang.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, on behalf of the 10,000 in service and retired educators of the Boston Public Schools and the Boston Teachers Union members, we just want to congratulate you and welcome you home, like our chair, Jeri Robinson had shared. So many of our members have worked with you over the decades and believe in your leadership. And so thank you and congratulations. So it is, I think, no surprise to anyone that certainly there are challenges in the district. And I think what's most important, though, is that there is so much love and commitment also in this district, and you see that behind us. And so we at the Boston Teachers Union are ready to roll up our sleeves and partner with Superintendent Skipper to ensure that all students in this district have what they need, and that we can ensure that our educators and our families have what they need also to support our students. And that's what the work ahead is about. And although we've been through some dark and stormy days recently, we do strongly believe that Superintendent Skipper is the right leader and the right moment at the right moment to help lead us through the storm and steady the ship so that we can grow together and collaborate together and partner together, and we will do everything we can do to ensure the superintendent is successful, because we need her to be successful, because our students need her to be successful, and our city needs her to be successful. And that's what we're going to be focused on doing, is availing her of all of the resources and inspiration, energy, creativity, and commitment from our members, and to work with the larger school community, because today is a new day, and this is what the hope is for our district. And everyone behind us represents that hope, and you are the right person to lead us, so thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And next up, I'd like to bring up someone who has changed and touched thousands of lives, has been in our school buildings, has led organizations, currently is Executive Director of Youth Boston Guidance, has been involved with Becoming a Man, and I'm grateful served on our transition committee thinking about citywide issues and community building, particularly for our young people and young men of color, Sean Brown.
First, I just want to start by saying thank you, Mayor, school committee members, search committee for getting you right and getting an amazing, amazing person. I've had an opportunity to work with Mary Skipper for years, and Mary, congratulations. Good morning. My name is Sean Brown. I am Executive Director of Youth Guidance Boston. I'm also a proud alumni of the Boston Public Schools. I oversee our two evidence-based programs, school-based counseling programs, and Becoming a Man and Working on Womanhood. And we're a proud partner of the Boston Public Schools. Our BAM and WOW programs are strategically designed to create safe, student-centered supports that promote academic and social-emotional development in our young men and women. For the past 2 years, I've had the privilege to work with Superintendent Skipper around some of the DI work that has been happening in Somerville. And the one thing that I grew to really appreciate about Superintendent Skipper during this process was her collaborative approach to addressing and solving systemic issues, and the impact. And that impacted all students and families, but in particular, black and brown students and families. Superintendent Skipper was instrumental in bringing both our Becoming a Man and Working on Womanhood programs to Somerville. Out of all three of our school districts that were in, Boston, Cambridge, and Somerville, Somerville was on pace to be the fastest growing school district of the three under Superintendent Skipper's leadership. 2 years ago, when we met during the peak of the pandemic, Superintendent was clear that she had good programs at the schools that supported students of color, but she needed more. She was open and honest about not being capable and having the capacity to do what BAM and WOW does, in the sense of supporting students' social-emotional development and mental health, especially during the time of that crisis. Research has shown that BAM reduces violence by 50%, increases graduation rates by 20%, and decrease overall crime arrests by 35%. Research has also shown for every dollar invested in BAM, there's a $30 return by keeping our young people out the system. So when we think about dismantling the school-to-prison pipeline and the push out of young girls, community partnerships and programs like BAM and all the folks who come together to support the school district are essential. WOW's impact has shown that 62% of our WOW participants experience fewer PTSD symptoms. 71% of WOW participants experience fewer depression symptoms. 96% of our young queens have said that the program has helped them make better decisions and have healthy relationships. One of the things that makes my heart hurt is when I have parents, family members, community, educators say, how do I get my young person involved in BAM or WOW? And the first question that we got to ask is, well, what school do they go to? And if they're not in one of our 13 schools, they're not eligible for our service because we're a school-based program model. Youth Guidance's ultimate goal is to provide BAM and WOW for any young person that wants and needs our program. A few years back, I sat down with then Mayor Walsh and Superintendent Casalius and mapped out a growth plan for BAM and WOW in the district over the next 4 to 5 years. And our target was starting with the 33 transformation schools. The district made it clear that BAM and WOW are a key part of their equity strategy. I look forward to continuing the great work started under the leadership of Mayor Wu, who has been a champion of the work prior to her role as mayor. And I'm truly grateful for that, Mayor Wu, and absolutely looking forward to getting to this work under the leadership of Mary Skipper. In closing, I always say that it takes a village and collective effort of community, public and private sector partners to have a true impact in our education system and the lives of our families and scholars. In all my experiences with Superintendent Skipper, going back to her time here in the BPS and at TBA, she's always been about doing what's best for our students and families, and she valued partnerships in that process. You've heard it, and I will echo it again. No one organization or entity does this work alone. We all know that there's a lot of work ahead, but I'm confident that under Superintendent Skipper's leadership, we will continue working to ensure that all Boston students receive the quality education they deserve. However, it's only possible if we all support. Superintendent Skipper says when she says all, that means media, that means families, that means community partners. Collective collaboration plus collective effort equals collective impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. And next I'll bring up another amazing school leader, someone who's a trusted advisor for me because of her wisdom and the respect that she holds across the entire district, head of school for the Edward M. Kennedy Academy for Health Sciences and head of the High School Association in Boston Public Schools, Dr. Karen Walker-Gregory.
First of all, we need to give a big round of applause for Mayor Wu. Come on, to make this happen today. Thank you, Mayor Wu. Mary Skipper and Tommy Welch, Dr. Tommy Welch, are both visionary thinkers, and school leaders would have equally supported either candidate. However, the school committee has spoken. I've known Mary Skipper for years. She was the head of school at Tech Boston Academy, followed by the network superintendent of high schools. She's a strategic thinker. She will use data to solve one problem at a time, and she is not afraid to make decisions in the best interests of students and families. I expect BPS school leaders to welcome her back with open arms. We love you, Mary. Welcome back to the family, and I'm making this quick and with a big hug.
Thank you. Questions from the media for anyone up here? And as you heard, we love you, media, but if you wanted to stay, I'm sure several people would take you into a classroom for some lessons on everything that we want to share. Questions for anyone?
How will this transition work where Mary Skipper has to finish up what she's doing in Somerville, won't be able to start right away where we're already working on that strategic improvement plan throughout the business?
Yes. In some ways, we're very lucky that Mary Skipper, Superintendent Skipper, is right here, so she's literally 10 minutes away from where we are today, a resident of Boston and in Dorchester, and so we will continue to be in frequent communication. We want to make sure from the perspective of the City of Boston and the Boston Public Schools that we are also supporting Somerville Public Schools in their transition as well, and so the details are still yet to be fully nailed down, but because Superintendent Skipper is here and because we have our incredible acting superintendent Dr. Drew Eckelson, we will make sure that that is seamless and that there's an onboarding process. But I'll invite up Dr. Eckelson or the superintendent to say something more if they wish. Where's Drew? You want to go?
So appreciate that question. So I think, when I heard that Drew had been named, or Dr. Eckelson had been named as the acting superintendent, my heartbeat went down to normal because I've had the opportunity to work with Drew while I was here in the BPS, and I really can't think of a more capable, student-centered, organized leader than Drew. So we've already been talking as soon as last night happened, and I expect that we will be doing that on a daily basis. I see the transition in Somerville and have spoken with Somerville about this as a transition, sort of a phasing in and a phasing out, a phasing into Boston and a phasing out of Somerville. The reality is I need to be involved in talking with Drew and the team on a regular basis on key decisions, and that will happen, as well as planning, envisioning, and building our team. That said, I have been clear that I will phase out of Somerville and ensure that Somerville has a healthy transition, which it deserves. There's many capable leaders there, and they will be stepping into different roles as time goes on. And now that the vote has happened, we can really begin to accelerate that process. But I would anticipate that it's a phase in, phase out to be completed during the month of September, and very excited every day that I wake up to work 9 hours in Boston and 9 hours in Somerville. So, Drew?
I'll just add, Mary and I have known each other for 20 years. We started at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, did our master's together. I think many of the comments this morning are accurate. She's strategic, she's smart, I know how she thinks. I know in some ways the way that she'll want the organization structured, and my job is to make sure that we deliver on that vision. We spoke last night at 10:15, we'll continue to speak over the weekend. I will make sure that she has all the transitional materials that she needs, and she'll be guiding those decisions, including hiring of key staff, as well as sort of organizational structure and key messages that she wants sent out to the organization. That'll be my job to help support that work. Thank you.
Go through your reaction to hearing it become official, and what was it like going through this process with the threat of state takeover potentially looming throughout the process?
Sure. So it was like watching a really good World Cup soccer game last night. It was stressful. I think what I felt in my heart, though, was that no matter what the decision, knowing Dr. Welch, that whatever the decision, that the students of Boston would be in good hands. And that to me is a relief, because it's something that since the day I left here, I've always wanted and pray for. So from that perspective, when I heard it, it was a bit surreal. You walk down a road, you put this hat on many, many times. I'm a prayerful person, and I, with my husband, have done deep discernment on this. And so when I finally heard it, it felt really peaceful. It felt like the right next step. And I will work exceptionally hard for this city and this district, as I try to have done throughout my career, because there's no better thing to work for than our students and our future. So I'm ecstatic. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm anxious. All of those things, as you can imagine. But I'm mostly hopeful because of the team that I see coming to bear on this. So many people reached out just in even the after hours of the vote, which is why I didn't sleep much last night, but reached out just to say, how can I help? And that is really the question we all have to ask. How can I help? How can you help? How can our nonprofits, our philanthropic, our city officials, within our school district, each one of us? And again, if I could do an image, there's a group of students sitting on the stairs, and they're waiting. And the sense of urgency has to be there for us, that until every single one of them has a top-rated education and every opportunity that we would want for our own kids, our work's not done. So that's my sense of urgency from the time I heard the vote last night, and will be until the last day I serve here. But hopeful, thankful, very much.
You're coming in at a very busy time for the district.
Yes.
You had the report from Jesse back in May. You've had this discussions between the state earlier this week. For you, what do you consider your top priorities on day one when you walk into that office?
Sure. So I think it'll be prior to walking in day one of the office because of the transition, but it's already. I mean, I think, special education, and between special education and our English language learners, that's 1 out of every 2 students in our district. So there is no greater priority. That has to be our focus. Native language access within our programming has to be the priority. And I think the operations, the foundational operations to support the teaching and learning, we have to get it right. We don't have margin for error there. If buses don't work, if buildings aren't safe and they're not clean, if materials and teachers don't have the training that they need for day one, those are all of the things that help our staff and our community feel ready and trustworthy in the work that we do. So that's going to be the priority. It won't be shiny and it won't be sexy, but it will be foundational and it will make a difference to students. I think, I've been following, obviously, the DESE work. We invite them as partner. I think that was the spirit of that document and the collaboration. I think there's very clear guidelines around what their expectations are in terms of that partnership, and we'll honor that, with enthusiasm. Drew and I have already had conversations. We will be appointing a senior level executive to be able to help from within, to be able to help at the assistant superintendent level, likely, to be able to help build that cross-functional team for the work that's in that report, to make sure we're executing it, and that's already beginning, but to execute it and to ensure that the data is available, and most importantly, we're transparent both in the community and with the Department of Ed. I've had the fortune of working with the Department of Ed in my career, both here in Boston and in Somerville, and I see them as a partner in the work. But our main partners are behind us, right? It's our teachers union, certainly, and I feel so hopeful about that. It is certainly our school building leaders, and it is our central staff, which from what I can see in the short time that I've now been able to experience them, they're very competent and very organized, and most importantly, they want to keep the students that are on the stairs in the center. So I think, we'll make sure that we're meeting the deadlines, August 15th being the first, and we'll be well prepared for that. I have no question. And again, Dr. Eccleston and I will be working very closely every day, I am sure, many hours, to make sure that happens.
All right, this is all the time we have for today. We have another event. Thank you.
Why don't we can follow up with you separately afterwards. I just want to make sure everyone it's a lot of sun, not a lot of sunscreen, so thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you.